Okay, good morning and welcome to another episode of the Property Business Podcast. We have myself, James Hughes, Mr. Jonathan Woods, and Shahin. I'm not going to pronounce your surname. John,
Shahin, good morning.
good morning, Shahin. Great to have you on board. John, how are you this morning?
Yeah, very good. Wonderful sunny day. Went for a very, very challenging run this morning, which was energizing. But yeah, busy schedule and meeting for some meeting in Marylebone.
Yeah, so I've just reminded John to have a very important meeting in about an hour's time. He has to get from Earlsfield to Marylebone, and then we have about 3 agent meetings throughout today. But most importantly, we're here to learn about Shahin. So Shahin, over to you. I guess we're going to be going through yourself, your business, your real estate career, why you joined DXB. But prior to that, tell us a bit about yourself and your career, including your real estate career as well.
Of course, it's a bit of an embarrassing start, to be honest. I'm a university dropout. I'm proud of where I am. I just want to note where I started, I would say. So I quit uni, didn't know what to do, and my cousin got me a job at a temping agency helping luxury brands in like Harrods and Selfridges. And my first day was Boxing Day at Selfridges for Gucci. And I'd never seen Oxford Street that busy before. It was really scary. But I got myself there and I started selling handbags. And I sold a lot of handbags. I'm sure it was because everything was half price and Chinese buyers could get like tax-free and stuff. But they loved me there. They gave me a job. And that's where I started my career in sales. That's where I got a taste for it. I started seeing my salary, and then the next month I was like, why am I being paid more this month? These guys have messed something up here. But they were like, no, you hit target. And I was like, okay, if I work harder, I can make more money. But the problem was, it was retail, it was handbags, and it wasn't good enough. And then fast forward a couple of years, I was in a Foxtons Mini with a hot Foxtons girl, and my mate was looking for a property, and we were just having a chill wag, and she said, you'd be a great estate agent. I was like, yeah, I would be a great estate agent. I've never really thought about that. She was trying to get her referral fee, that 500 quid, if you remember. But I did my interview, I got the job, and John Woods was my very first manager in my career, actually. 10 years ago. It's wild how time flies. It's gone in moments.
10 years, mate, and it's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Exactly.
That was going to be my next question. Who has been your best and also your least favorite manager in your real estate career?
Oh, mate, what a question to ask when John's here. Look, John was my manager for like 4 months, I would say, probably.
Okay.
And then because I was in tutoring, he got promoted back to, I think, managing Battersea, which was obviously an incredible promotion. I guess I can say John was one of the good ones. He taught me a lot of good stuff. But John, I hope you don't mind me saying this. I don't mean it with disrespect, but I never really, I don't know, I don't deal with management. I can be managed and I am respectful, but I just always felt like I had bigger goals in mind. Like, when we were at Foxtons, we had directors that were knocking about for 20 years. I think, I'm not going to name names, I've seen that person knocking about even now. So it's like 30 years of working there. And as I left about 6 or 7 years ago, that person was just buying their first investment property. And I'm like, I don't know if that's success. I don't know if that's what I want for myself, to drive around the same offices for 20 years and having the same conversations, doing the same training. And I don't know, that's not what I wanted. So
interesting. So you went from a negotiator and then you went on to be a valuer as well?
Yeah, so it was the classic thought process of, if I can become a valuer, all my problems will be sorted. And if I can get out of a starting office, which was tutoring, and into a flagship office like Battersea, Balham, Wimbledon, then all of my problems will be resolved. But of course, a serious disillusionment for anyone that aims for something and then they get there, they're like, hang on a minute, this is nothing like I thought it would be. And I got made valuer. I had considerably more work to do, considerably more fires to put out, because they weren't just my fires, it was everyone's fires. And I was earning less money. I honestly couldn't believe it. It was, it was wild. And I'm sure loads of people that are in agency will experience that with promotions as well.
Yeah,
But
when I was a negotiator at Foxtons, I banked 680. My take home was 93k. I then went to go and be a valuer. They tried to get me down to 50k. I was able to negotiate an extra 5k to get to 55, which I thought was good, and that was quite good as a valuer. But my first paycheck as a valuer, I was like, what have I done? I was like, can I go back to being a negotiator again? But all part of the training, and I'm very grateful for that. But yeah, that first paycheck was not very good.
yeah.
So,
I'll
and did
never
you?
take that away from them. That they taught us so much, and even today, like this morning, I've been using skills that they taught us. But I got to Foxtons Wimbledon. I was a valuer there, and then I knew I needed to make a move. I was investing in property as well. I was learning a lot about property on the side, not just to be an estate agent, but to be a property investor. And I'd read the books, I'd done the work. I knew I was ready for something, and I always wanted to be a business owner. And then the universe presented Purple Bricks to me, and a lot of people at PB will say, it's like a soft first step into self-employment. They had £1 million annual budget for marketing. People remember the adverts. And I would just wake up with valuations in my diary. It was incredible. I would turn up, the Foxtons guy who had loads of experience, knew what he was doing, charging a Purple Bricks fee, and I was knocking these deals out of the park. It was incredible. Fast forward 3 years, COVID hit, the founders sold PB, and it became, tech companies all about revenue, not about profit. And then it became about profit. And they made some really, in my opinion, bad decisions because the people running the business weren't estate agents. They were just business people. They wanted us to go back into the shackles of employment. And that was a big, big no for me. No
When
chance.
was that? Because you were there 2018 to 2022. So you went there self-employed. And then when did they then change it to employed?
I left because they wanted us to become employees.
Yeah.
And I made the right call because a lot of my colleagues that I spoke to afterwards were saying how it's now target-based and target-driven. And, if your commissions are based on the target, they can set the target as high as they want. At the end of the day, if you're trying to get comms, you have to hit what they want you to hit for them to feel like you deserve that money. And it just... It's not me,
I think that was around 2019 because it actually coincided. Well, maybe was it after COVID when they did
It was after COVID. It was like 2021. It was when everything got really hard for everyone, I'm sure.
Because I think it coincided quite well with EXP coming into the UK and opening. Because obviously it started off in 2019. They just got a couple of people in, and then COVID hit, and there's a lot of people that were similar to yourself that were disgruntled with. No, for all its sins, Purple Bricks, the model, is list, and that's it. After that, really, do you care whether it sells or not? But what it actually did is it paved the way for people within the UK to actually show that you can be an estate agent and be self-employed and actually make it work and make good money. But without it, they were sort of like the Betamax of what is now the brokerage model. But
exactly, they turned agents like us, from needing a salary and wanting to be in that structure to realizing I don't need a salary. I can back myself to do deals, although they produce the leads, which I'm sure all of us, our biggest concern these days is lead generation.
So I think I was going to say I think one of the major points with that is that the migration from the rhetoric of low fee, commisery, devaluing the profession to then transitioning from that super low, okay, the value is the kind of margin at the very, very bottom to actually an estate agent of your caliber, where you come from, the best of the best. I know when you walk through the doors, I had a lot of people in my 11 years at Foxtons, and I met a lot of, very talented people. But without blowing your smoke up your ass, you were one of those people. No, but you get. It doesn't matter. You had that spirit, you had that drive and ambition, and that's the point. But how did you find? I mean, we can go further into it later. But how did you find transitioning from that? We haven't got to the point where you become an E3 broker, but going from that environment where it had gone from sort of being the highest fees down to then the lowest, was that something that you felt good about?
Important to note. I was letting at Purple Bricks. I got paid on let, not at the beginning. It was completely different to the guys on the sales side. No disrespect to anyone that was at PB, but I've spoken to people, and there were times where they would just take on a property, price it at whatever they wanted to price it at, just to get the instruction because they're going to get paid. It didn't matter if it sold or not.
Okay, fair point.
I was letting, so I had to convert and I had to do the deal. So when I won the business, they were happy to deal with me. I gave them reasonable figures. We're not high street agents. We were trained to price high.
Okay, makes sense.
I gave them fair figures. They trusted me. They liked me. It was a very, very low fee as well. So it was very easy. I was just winning loads of business. And that's when I realized, freedom. One of my favorite books, my mates always take the piss because I'm constantly talking about it. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, cash flow, freedom, financial freedom.
Yeah, really good.
I got that first taste. And when they started talking about being employed again, I was like, no way. Having to wake up, being signed on at a certain time, not being able to sign off till a certain time, that's just not who I am anymore. And I wanted to go further into business ownership, not backwards.
So obviously that's the reason why you started to look elsewhere.
Yep.
How much, obviously, you then went to Remax. Did you look at other offerings then, or why did you choose Remax?
I spoke to Keller Williams. I spoke to Remax. The reason I chose to go with Remax is because we have all been indoctrinated to believe that patch is super important. At Foxtons, you had those like 3 postcodes each. At Purple Bricks, I was the territory owner for SW, W, KT, and TW. That's over 80 postcodes, and it was wild. The patch was huge. So I really believed that I needed to go somewhere that I was going to have my own patch, and no one else was allowed to do business in my patch. It belonged to me. And Remax said I could have Southwest London. And for me, Southwest London was the gold mine that made me successful at PB. So that's what made me go there. But I very quickly realized I've got to generate leads, and I've got to pump money into my lead generation. And there was no way in hell I was going to be able to cover all of Southwest London. And the deals that I was doing was mostly from, historic clients, word of mouth. And it was wherever the business was, I would go, essentially. That's why I chose those guys. And that, it is a big brand. Like I remember, and I remember this because I was at Remax when I saw it, but I was watching The Office, the American Office.
Yeah.
Like the CEO of the company was like, I'll get my agent at Remax to call you. I was like, oh my God, they're quoted on the Office. Like, these are serious guys. My mates would send me their boards and their advertising across the world. They'd go on holiday, they'll land in Cyprus, and the first thing they see is a Remax board. And I was like, okay, these are serious players. And it was great. I built my business there. That's why I built it from the ground up. Most of my clients.
Shahin's like, there's a slight echo. Have you got this on 2 screens by any chance?
I do have 2 screens on, but it's only on 1 screen. Should I turn off let me turn off the second screen. Is that any better?
I don't think so, but carry on. It's not bad, but no, it's fine. Carry on. So go back to Remax.
There's a button here that says echo cancellation, and it's on. So I'm sorry, I don't know.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Carry on. So go back to Remax. So you chose Remax. You saw it on The Office. You fly into countries. You see Remax there.
Yeah, it was all amazing, and I built my business there. Everything was going perfectly, but
what was your business? Was it lettings or sales? What was your actual business?
So it started off as mostly lettings, but I was now managing properties as well, which again, cash flow, really big deal for me. I sold my first property in 2021 or 2022. It was 800 grand. I sold it for a pitiful 1%, but I liked the owners, and I was like, they were giving me a shot. I didn't have anything to show them, and I sold it. And I got that fee, and I was like, hang on a minute. This is completely different to lettings fees. So that's when I started pumping all my energy into selling properties as well. But yeah, my biggest problem was that I started my business after the stamp duty holiday got taken away. The market was very, very difficult. And I didn't have anyone to tell me, you're not the problem, Shahin. You're not the reason these properties aren't selling. It's the market, and the client needs to understand that they have to reduce the price. That's one of the first things that me and you spoke about when we started dealing with each other. You said ultimately there's nothing wrong with what I've done. We did that joint deal on Lavender Hill. And I was like, I just want to see what James does, because he's selling so much, he's making so much money. What's this guy doing that I'm not? And I saw that, we're doing the same thing. And the only difference was that I didn't have the confidence, and I didn't have anyone around me to say, you're good, mate. You're doing everything right. This is what needs to change. That was my biggest issue, but now that's completely changed. We'll come on to that. But
so when you were at Remax, were you operating in a team? Was there any support? Were you just literally by yourself? Did you have colleagues to reach out to, share ideas? What was the support offered by Remax?
So there were directors, and they would manage areas. There was a lot of turnover on those directors, which was concerning, obviously. there was a head office team, and they were just for like rent reconciliation and invoicing and all that sort of thing. But I was essentially on my own. I built a team because I wanted to leverage and have people to support me. I had people doing my admin for me and people helping me with management and stuff. But I was
that's what you've built. That's what you've built yourself below you. So you've taken it upon you to kind of build that team leverage there. Okay.
Because there were so few of us, there was, but perhaps I could speak to someone that was doing really well, but in Wales, it's a completely different world to London property. They might be selling properties loads and doing really well, and their strategy for finding leads and everything they were doing worked amazingly for that part of the world, but it's kind of already been done here, and it doesn't apply to our marketplace because it's
I'm just going to jump in a little bit there, just on something you just mentioned, which was you and James working on a collaborative position and learning from each other. And Shahin, you're a student of business. You're an entrepreneur. You know that when you start out in any business, you're the buck stops with you. It's you on your own. And traditionally, people will always talk about maybe getting a mentor or having a business coach. And I think if you look at business mentorship and what it actually costs to get people that are at the level of someone like James or myself as a mentor, would be very, very expensive. Or you'd have to already have a very, very strong friendship with that person. I mean, we'll go on to sort of how the framework set up with EXP, importantly with the organ and the way that we've built it. But James was very free with his information, as far as I can understand. Not understand. I know, because he took you on his wing and showed you what to do. But the thing is, let's not rewind that. Shahin, you were running a very successful business, and you're also a very, let's say, independent man. To do that, to take that mindset, it took a little time. Took a little time for you to maybe see what it was that we were trying to offer you, or to bring you in from that point of view.
We'll come on to that as well. But obviously, I reached out to Shahin some time before you joined EXP. What was the attraction of EXP, and why did it take you so much time? Not so much time, but why did it take you some time to kind of come over?
So you actually sent me that message on LinkedIn, and I didn't see it for ages because I didn't spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. I know it's disgraceful to say something like this as independent agents, but I don't really like social media. And I haven't posted on my own personal social media in years because I'm just not interested. But the thing that made me... No, I've started. I've got a social media team. The stuff that I don't like and the stuff that I'm not passionate about, I hire other people to do it for me. I think that's the correct way.
Very sensible.
But the reason I came to you guys and I saw that message is because I saw Mr. Hughes, Mr. James Hughes Property on Instagram constantly. Every time I'd sign in, there was another post from this guy. He sold yet another property. He's doing unbelievably well. And the model made sense to me. I'd been at Remax. I wanted to be an independent agent, and I wanted to get support and access to everything without having to have the overheads. The reason I moved over was solely because I could speak to someone and get advice and be given some guidance to be even more successful. That was the main driver for me. And in part, things started to go a little bit downhill at Remax, unfortunately. I'm going to be respectful and try and keep most of it to myself, but problems came about. I was a part of a franchise and the franchise was the entire country. And even when I piped up to Europe to say, we've got issues, they just weren't interested. And in the 1 year that I've been at EXP, I've seen so many changes and so many improvements and any issues. There's the APC, what's it called? The
Agent Advisory Council?
Yes, the AAC, yeah. No, we have a council. We have people that we can turn to be like, this is a problem. Can we do something about it? And they will eventually do something about it. But
I think just to add on to that, I mean, this is one of the things I find incredible. It's great you point out, especially someone that's only been in the business for a year, but it's your business. But EXP is owned by the people within it. We're all shareholders in it. But the founder, Glenn Stanford, is an extreme entrepreneur, and it's not, James, you're at CBRE, and it's almost like a giant tanker to get anything to move. And with EXP, when there's something that needs changing and something that needs improving, it just gets done. Let's do it. And it's the same thing with when you look at people like Richard Branson. He's got the same mindset. He's got a great book called "Screw It, Let's Do It." And I think that's if you get a chance to read it, it's really good, Shahin. But yeah, I love that. We've got constant innovation, constant things coming through to make our lives easier and better.
Yeah. No, several of my colleagues at Purple Bricks, and obviously you guys, I'd seen everyone that I knew, the hottest agents in the industry, were all at EXP. There must be something about this organization, and it's kind of, we are the center of the business. They care about the agents. They want us to be successful. They stay out of the way. They want us to be the brand, and we are just powered by them. And at Remax, I wasn't allowed to be Shahin powered by Remax. I could just be Remax Southwest London. That was it. They wanted to be the brand themselves, and they didn't want us to be at the forefront. But no one does business with Foxtons. No one does business with Purple Bricks. They do business with the individual, and that was another big issue for me. But I made the move, and
it's fair to say that you stayed in the shadows initially. Obviously, we have a collaborative organisation, 100 agents strong. I kept saying, "Do you want to be in that group?" And you said, "Well, if you don't mind, you're going to stay in the shadows." Yeah. Talk to us about how you built your business initially. Then we'll talk about your kind of growth coming out of the shadows. But so run us through your kind of business when you joined the EXP. What did you do? How did you bring it over? Was it lettings? Was it sales? Talk to us a bit about that.
So I came with a business. I was privileged to have, I think at that time it was like 35, 40 managed properties, I think, including
amazing,
the not managed lets that I had. I'm just about to hit 50 managed properties, and I think I'm around 100, 110 total lettings portfolio. So I had the privilege of having business to move over with me, and I had the stability of monthly income. And again, one of the big drivers for me was that Remax charges 30% on all management and everything, but EXP gave me the option to keep it all in-house. If I did, I had to be certified, get everything in place. I now use PayProp for reconciliation. It costs me a lot of money, but I want to be in control. I keep it all in-house because I want to make sure my clients are always looked after by me. The reason I wanted to...
It's probably important just to put in there. So you mentioned that the lettings agent, they have the freedom, whether they use the EXP Move, which is the partner company with EXP for the lettings, rent collect, and the management, or people like yourself who are already more established, you have the freedom to use EXP to advertise online, but then you create your own lettings, rent collect, management business in the background. Is that by having PayProp? Like, is that what you had already?
Yeah, so I think you just need to prove that you've got your client money certification, you're registered with the right bodies, you're doing all the right stuff, and we've got a compliance team, which is handy to have.
I was just going to say, just to jump in on this, guys, with the lettings framework, obviously there's still a commitment to pay EXP. It's not a sort of a free service that you just get to bring over 100 units and not have to do it. And I think, lettings is in its infancy. And like we were talking about the sort of evolution of the business in itself and as it continues to grow, there may be things that get changed on the horizon. So probably best we don't go into too much detail in the way that the lettings, it's very complex. And there's a lot of innovation that's happening in that space. So probably let's just keep part of that one for as that comes in.
Anyway, the point I'm making is that it was amazing. It was amazing for me, and it was the reason I could move over, and it was the reason that I could be kind of a secret agent. Guys, I'm an introvert. I feel a lot more comfortable now, but in preparation for this, I had to really center myself, and the idea that people might be listening to me talk or public speaking, I'm not good with any of that stuff. And I left Foxtons because I did not want to be in a team anymore. And I was most frustrated at Purple Bricks because I was forced to have a team afterwards. And I'm very happy in my lovely living room by myself, working my ass off, getting stuff done, and then taking it easy. But you added me to the WhatsApp group. I saw the collaboration. We collaborated. I've just done a £1.3 million deal with an agent that wasn't EXP that now has joined EXP based on the advice that you two gave me. And we've been indoctrinated, haven't we? Foxtons, Purple Bricks, don't share any of the fees, don't do business with anyone else, but it doesn't make sense. We can give our clients a stunning service, give them everything they want, and get two businesses to support them.
So let's discuss that deal with George. Obviously, George, I invited him to EXP Miami back in October. He has recently joined, which is amazing. He's an awesome agent. Great to have him on board. But talk to me about that deal that you did, because you had the client. George also had the client. You went back into your Foxtons ways of trying to compete. I said, well, Shahin, let's have a note. What is best for the client here? So talk to us about how that how
Yeah,
that
let's
came
talk about it.
about, and then talk to us about how that actually went through, so everyone benefited from that.
Yeah. So I met the landlord. She was a landlord to me. I met her at Purple Bricks. She loved me, hated PB, which seems to be a recurring theme for my business. And I managed her tenancy and found her tenants over and over again for like 5 or 6 years. She's, I consider her a friend, not just a client. I really get on with her. And she supported me when I first moved over. She was one of my first clients to move with me. So I knew that if she asked me to sell this property, A, of course, I wanted to be the one to sell it. And B, I'm going to work myself to death to get these guys the best possible deal I can. George, on the other hand, sold them this property 12 years ago. And he speaks Russian. They're from Kazakhstan. I think hopefully I haven't got that wrong, Kyrgyzstan. And the father, Boris, only speaks Russian. He doesn't speak English. Dad wanted to deal with George. Daughter wanted to deal with Shahin. And I was like, cool, I'm going to beat this guy for sure. But he needed to arrange a valuation. He contacted me as the property manager. He saw my display pic, Shahin Khoshsavi EXP. And he said, oh, well, actually, I've had a chinwag with James and John before. And I turned to you guys and I said, do you know him? And you said, yeah, he's a really good agent. And I was like, so, James, what do I have to do to beat this guy? Tell me how I can beat him. And you were like, well, why do you have to beat him? Why can't you work together? And it took me a couple of days. I literally had to sit there and ponder it for so long. But now it's kind of like a no-brainer. I don't have to think about this anymore. That's just what I'm going to do. So George and I said, I wanted to charge 1.5. He wanted to charge 1.5. I said, look, I think the clients really want to sell this property and they really want to deal with both of us. Why don't we charge them 3%? Both of us get our 1.5s. They get, without doubt, the best agency service that they would ever get with the two of us supporting them. And yeah, everyone was happy. It was a wonderful deal. George, we both got our fees. We actually, the buyer came from another agent. They referred the buyer to us, and the owner's buying loads of flats in this building anyway. So we've not just collaborated with the two of us, we've collaborated with another agent and paid them a referral fee. It's now exchanged. We're waiting for the tenants to move out in a couple of weeks, and then it's going to complete. The clients are delighted, and now she's looking to buy her next pad, and hopefully in time she's going to use me for property management and lettings, maybe not George. We'll see about that one.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, that came from your advice. I would have never considered doing that if I hadn't joined EXP, if I wasn't working with you.
Yeah. And I guess, and you mentioned Lavender Hill before. That was one of your clients that you brought to me. You came here to learn. I didn't need to do that, but that's what I do for all of our agents. So we collaborated. I went through the guide price strategies. I went through why we are going to adjust to this level. We didn't quite sell it, but that was a great learning experience for you. And then 2 weeks later, I think that buyer came back and you're like, James, we've sold. I was like, that is amazing.
I was really proud of myself. It was a classic agency deal. It was my best friend's cousin-in-law who wanted me to rent out his property in Tooting. And then he was like, well, we're looking to invest. And I was like, we took it off the market. We'd like, what was it? And I said, well, consider this one. He said yes. And again, the deal happened. I was really proud of that deal. That was my first deal at EXP.
Yeah, it was amazing. And you would, I am still learning. I am an agent of 15 years, but I'm still learning. And we have this WhatsApp community. Obviously, we are your direct support partners. Myself, John, we have a little kind of WhatsApp chat for your more personal questions about, for example, how to structure the deal with George. But then I'm then learning. I reach out to John. We have that WhatsApp community of 100 agents. The questions in there that get answered. It's such a powerful community. And then obviously going back to that deal with George, and incredible. You and George collaborated. The client got a much better service. Yes, their fee was higher, but then they've got two agents collaborate as opposed to competing. So amazing result for the client as well. And then on the back of that, George has now joined EXP.
Awesome. I was tempted to say whose downline should he go into because I put a lot of work in with that one, but I'm happy for you because you guys, he's a great guy. I think the world of him. I'm delighted that he's at EXP, and you should definitely get him on the pod. He's got some really good chat. I would say.
Yeah. Funny if you go back to that chat in the car with the lady trying to get £500 for you to sign up. The remunerations that are created through revenue share and the build now from what you can build below yourself is absolutely phenomenal. But also we're helping people change their lives. We're not just saying, hey, try this out, because as we've been speaking about for the last 20 minutes, 25 minutes, is it's not just sign up and sit here and then we just sort of let you run off into the sunset or to fail. It's a case of if you want to be part of the collaborative group, you can be, and you can get supported by some incredible people. But what you've done so far, James, is absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you.
The story you've just told and the transitions that you've made, and hopefully after making all of those sort of moves, you're now settled in a place where you can now grow, absolutely exponentially.
Well, let's go on to. I know that Shahin reads a lot of books about working smart. You are.
Yep.
I am the example of working my socks off, working hard. You are the example of working smart. I actually need to learn from you. So talk to me about your day, how you structure your day, how smart you work, what systems, what leverage do you have in place?
So this is all because I'm lazy, to be honest. I've just learned that if I don't want to do it, there is someone out there that really, really does. I only deal with other self-employed people, and I pay them per service. So if they let me down, they let themselves down, and I find someone else. It's a really good way to set it up. So I've got my executive assistant, I want to call her, not just my assistant or property manager. She can book flights for me. She can do all sorts for me, but she is the main point of contact for property management with all my tenants and landlords. She'll take care of all of my, literally every aspect of my business that's admin related. And I literally pay her per minute. She uses an app called Clockify. And every time she's dealing with my business, she puts it on. She charges me per week. I can keep track of what I'm spending. Sometimes it's going to be way more. Like I expect to pay her considerably more the next few months because it's really busy in lettings. But in the winter, when business is quiet, I pay her less. So I scale up and down based on how much I need it to work. I've got people for my viewings. I spent a lot of time and a lot of money having an AI guy build an inquiry scraper for me. So one of the things I love from Purple Bricks is I put a property online, people inquire, they get sent an email, and they book on via the website. I never spoke to anyone. I occasionally had to have a conversation just to explain a few things, but I didn't have to speak to anyone. And I really, really miss that with my business. So I've got ChatGPT plugged into my Outlook. It looks out for inquiry emails. It takes the details of each tenant, puts them over to a new CRM, and I've got template emails that I send them, with booking links and all of the information that they would need. Of course, if a tenant has questions, they can email me or call me, and I'll support them. But I mean, I've got 2 open houses on Saturday. Total 30 or 40 viewings booked across the 2 of them. I've actually not had a single phone call with anyone, and frankly, they don't want to chat to me. They hate estate agents calling them every morning, begging them to view the wrong property in the wrong area. So it seems to be working better for everyone. Now, intelligent strategies like guide price offers in excess of. So we always get the hits and we always hit our home run. That's one of my favorite things that I've done. And I've got a guy for my marketing. He's also helping me build my revenue share as well as finding me new clients. I've got a social media person because I'm not artistic at all. And as you know, I don't really like social media. So I come up with the content, I send them the ideas, they put it together, I give it the sign off, and they get it online. And yeah, I just, guys, Rich Dad Poor Dad, financial freedom. I just want to take it easy. My business, I want it to be a cash flowing asset as much as my houses are in South Wales. And I was saying to James, I got up at just before 5 a.m. today, and I got all of my stuff done. I can hear my WhatsApp pinging off now, but everything's done. After this, I'm going to go to the gym, do some replies, and probably take it easy today. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to enjoy myself. But now that I have more time, now that the groundwork's been laid, I will now focus on building my revenue share and my downline because I've got the time to do that. So
Amazing.
I think everyone should
say, Shahin, just to point on that. I mean, that's what 4 or 5 years worth of hard graft to get to where you are. You built a portfolio of 100 lettings. That's got significant value in itself as a rental book. Right. Just to point out to people as well, is that that's your data. Even though you've brought it to EXP, you own that. EXP don't take that away from you. There are a lot of companies out there. There's a lot of companies out there that will own the data. It's not yours. So it's a very important point.
I'll tell you the truth. I originally considered Remax and EXP as a stepping stone for me to start my own business. I told you this, John, when we met at that pub in that cafe in Clapham Junction. Now I'm like, with a possible recession looming, there are ups and downs in the sales industry. Why do I want to take any risk and have all the overheads on my neck? I'm happy to pay my commission splits, earn 100% of what I want to earn, just by doing my duties. And I with the revenue share scheme, it just makes sense to stick around. And I'm more and more, I'm not 100% there yet, but more and more I'm thinking, what's the point in doing it all on my own, in my own business,
There's so many examples, just prime example from mine, Dan Archer. He was going to start Archer's Estates, very much was this, I'm going to do EXP for 6 months. I'm just going to learn the ropes and I'm going to move on. And then, 3 years later, he's turning over nearly $500,000 a year. And he's like, I'm not going anywhere. Because he's like, I can't run this business in a better place with a better bunch of people, with a better support, and with a larger upside and potential exit plan. There just isn't anything out there that can offer the same thing. And like you say, why take all the risk on your shoulders for such a nominal? I'm proud to pay what I pay to EXP for what they give me back, because I think it's fantastic.
It's like 24K. Maximum we pay them is 24K a year, and then the sky's the limit with how much you want to earn. So it's
and then Shahin, as part of you kind of coming out of the shadows, you come to the org events, the agent mastermind. You also went to the UK conference as well. How did you find the UK conference?
It was what's the word? I was very inspired when I left. Seeing people just like me. I don't know about you guys, but I don't feel particularly special. I don't feel like I'm uneducated. I don't have a degree. I just sort of happened upon these things along the way and read a couple of books, and I can't believe the business that I have now. And the thing I love about EXP is I'm brushing shoulders with the hottest agents in the industry. The fact that, Miles Rutherland, I love that guy when we were at Foxtons. And when we came to I think it was the Shard when we did the org meeting there, and he was there. I spent the whole day with him, the whole night with him. He's just such a great guy, and he's such a good agent. And I'm like, these are the best agents in the industry. Why do I want to go and do it alone when I can be, in the midst of all of you guys, learning from you and building my experience? So that for me is probably one of the main things that will keep me at EXP permanently. And I think I listened to a couple of podcasts of your podcasts in preparation for today, and the coach, I forgot his name, he was saying that it's not for everyone. And I don't know if I agree. I feel like if you are a manager or a valuer, or even a half decent negotiator in an office, and you are spending time reading the books and understand what it means to be a business owner, anyone can be successful doing what we do. You can have the freedom. I've never played more PlayStation in my life than right now, to be honest. But, if you are I know managers at maybe not the top agencies, but the mid-level agencies that are knocking on doors and leafleting themselves. They're already doing the hardest part. They're already creating the business. They're finding the business. They're doing the business. They're managing everyone, and someone else takes all the commission. It doesn't make any sense.
10%, mate. It's versus 90% going to the company for doing all the things you just mentioned.
Literally, exactly.
I think the biggest barrier most people have is either fear factor, lack of confidence, but also in finances. It does take finance to get you off the ground. You were lucky enough to go and transition through a phase that enabled to give you a runway for it. Advice I always say to people: if you have the dream, if you've got the sort of that in the back of your mind that you want to do it, well, you've got to start building that finance buffer for you to be able to do it. And no businesses there isn't a single business out there that can start on zero capital, but the entry point to set these businesses up is phenomenally low. It's just really down to a 6-month burn rate.
Look, this may be bad advice, and I'll turn to you guys, but if you're already employed, you already have a monthly income. So the cost and expense of building your business to that specific point, about 6 months, you can do that undercover. You don't have to have your boards out there. You don't have to have your social media with your name and your face all over it. You can build your business to that point. And then make the leap when you've got 5 properties in your pipeline, or your
well, I think it's possible. Depends on what
you've got some lettings. I know it's different for everyone. And I'll be honest. I was one of those people. I'm again embarrassed to say I moved out of my mum's house when I was 30, but mostly because I just couldn't bring myself to mess with my cash flow that much, because I was in 3, and she's a godsend.
Food on the table and cook for you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Why not?
Yeah, but
I'm joking. Work smart.
I think there is a
work smart,
way.
Shahin.
There is a way for people to set this up intelligently that they're not risking themselves, they're not risking everything. And like you mentioned fear earlier, I personally think it's considerably scarier to have to wake up early, get to an office, manage a bunch of idiots, work yourself to death for 20 years, and still have to keep doing that for essentially forever. That to me is petrifying. I would never ever want to do that again. So
You can't fire yourself. You can't fire yourself either, Shahin. You've always got that worry that you never know, you can make redundant the next month. You're only as good as your last paycheck.
Yeah, I don't have it on good authority, but I've read a lot about that recession is coming. And I expect loads of agents are going to lose their jobs because the recession is usually based on land and property. When we're not able to sell or rent stuff, people are going to lose their jobs. I don't ever have to worry about that. I've set my business up in a way that I'm protected forever, and I think we all, a salesperson, maybe not everyone in the world, but a salesperson and specifically managers, valuers, and experienced negotiators in a branch, they should be doing what we do. I really just believe that wholeheartedly.
Amazing.
I'm gonna have to jump off now. So if you guys want to close up, I'm gonna jump. I've got to get on the tube.
See you soon.
Incredible pod, though. Great to have you on time.
Shahin, loads of amazing information there. How can anyone get hold of you, Shahin? What's your Instagram? You're on LinkedIn. Yeah, what's your Instagram?
Yeah, so I chosen to drop my surname in my Instagram handle because I think it doesn't have that much of a ring to it, Shahin Khosavi. So it's House of Shahin, house.of.shahin on Instagram. Easiest way to find me.
Amazing. I think the tagline for this podcast will be, I've never played as much PlayStation ever. That is the reason to join EXP.
I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and he said it was the first time I realized that you don't have to work like a dog for the rest of your life. You can choose to create passive income and then business income, and you can do whatever you want with that free time. For now, I'm getting married this year. I'm hoping to have children next year. I don't know what's destined for us from the universe, but I'm sure there will be a lot less PlayStation and a lot more time for my family, for my children. My wife, she's my fiance, wife to be. She works bloody hard, and I love the fact that she comes home Monday to Thursday. There's always a home-cooked, lovely meal. Not always, most of the time, a home-cooked, lovely meal for her. Not many people can say that. Employed partners can't say they have to be working. They have to get a Deliveroo, and we can spend time on a Friday afternoon in the pub and have our finance conversation of the month or, our plans for the wedding. This is because I have so much time available to me. But yes, PlayStation comes first for now.
So you've built an awesome business and an awesome lifestyle as well. So very well done. Amazing credit for John. In this podcast, he left his home in Earlsfield via Clapham Junction, via Victoria, and I think he's just arrived in Marylebone for our 10:30 meeting. So good on John. He's made it as well. Awesome pod. We love you being a part of the organisation. Thanks for all that you do, and keep up the amazing good work as well.
Thank you, mate. Thank you for everything you do. You're a superstar, and I'm delighted to be here. It's an honour to be on the podcast. Thank you for having me.
Cool. Okay, have a good day. Speak soon.
Everyone, take care.